Yeah. So the next thing that I would say, once you've accepted and you let them know, is that you want to just follow up with financial aid to make sure that you don't have any outstanding issues, that they've received everything that they need to confirm that. A lot of times, particularly if, for example, you were pulled for verification, or if they had additional questions, or they said that this, for a lot of students, you are either verified or they are asking you for additional income, particularly for your parents, to continue the verification. You want to make sure that there's no outstanding issues with that so that you can get a more accurate financial aid package. So again, getting in is just half the battle. You want to make sure you sort of dot all your I's, cross all your T's, and make sure that on your end, all of your paperwork is done. So just always following up with them to make sure that your financial aid is actually complete. And then with that, now that you've been accepted, you want to ask for more money or see if they have more money available to you. Because what happens is there are other students who were offered scholarships, who were offered aid that may have not accepted the offer because they decided to go somewhere else. And so now if there's this free pot of money or extra money that is now available because certain students said no. I can't say it's guaranteed that you'll get this money, but it certainly doesn't hurt to ask. So as soon as you get your acceptance letter and you've confirmed it, I would then say, is there any additional aid, or were there scholarships that were not available that I could still apply to now? Again, just because other students may have said no, and this money is now here. So you definitely just want to, I always say it never hurts to ask. I think one of the biggest mistakes students do, especially students of color, first generation students, is that they're afraid to ask these questions because they don't want to seem silly, or because they think that what they've been given is sort of set in stone. That is never the case. Because now the school has to work to make sure that they keep you so that you don't end up still going somewhere else. Because you still can agree to go somewhere else after you've accepted. They don't like it, but it's possible. So you can always just ask to see if there is any additional aid that you can apply for. If you were in your last year and your grades have improved in your last semester, you can also submit an updated transcript and see if that makes you eligible for any new scholarships that you may not have been eligible for. So yeah, just ask and see, is there any money there? A lot of times I find that there is money and the school is willing to give it to you if you ask. They're not just going to be like, hey, we found this extra money and we want to give it to you. You have to sort of make the effort to ask that question yourself and do the legwork sometimes. Or if there was a scholarship that you were familiar of and you either missed the deadline or didn't know about it prior when you were applying, you can now then and go ask about those scholarships. So continue to do your research about what the school offers financially and see if you're eligible for that. The next thing you want to do, if you are going to be staying on campus, is you want to start looking out for the information that Residence Life is going to send you. So this will be either through mail or through email. And so they're going to start asking you to fill out these different profiles, to ask questions, to answer questions, to best identify what dorm you want to, what residence hall you want to stay in, and what kind of roommate they want to pair you with. I will say that, so you may have met someone through student orientation, through an overnight event, through an admissions event. You may have a friend going to the same school with you. I encourage you to not choose your roommate in advance based off of these things, because it can be very problematic, because you think you know someone and you don't, and then you're stuck with them for the semester. So even though it seems risky, I would just let the Residence Life staff choose your roommate for you. And then if it still doesn't work out, at least you can blame them and not yourself for choosing the roommate that you have. But also be very honest when you're filling out your surveys and your profiles and they're asking you questions about, are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? Do you need any additional services or resources? Maybe you have a disability, physical or otherwise, and you need certain things in your room. You want to be very honest about all of these in advance, so that they can plan appropriately and put you in the right place for that. So
yeah, I have a lot of students who are nervous about living on campus for the first time. And like you said, you'll be surprised. You might have a best friend
Yeah,
going to school, and you only know that best friend at school. When you
yeah.
live with them, you get to see everything, how clean they are, how messy
How
they are, how loud. You get to see everything. And so
you
you're
don't
going to
know
be
someone
exposed
till
to
you
some
live with
things.
them. Yeah.
Hmm.
So just
Hmm.
and if you are certain that you don't that you want to pick your roommate, just be very clear about that decision. I
Hmm.
will say that for most institutions that I'm familiar with, there is at least a 3 to 4 week freeze where you're not allowed to move rooms
Hmm.
at all because they're still trying to figure things out, make sure everybody who showed up to campus did. So you're going to at least be stuck with that roommate for at least a month. So again, you want to be very careful about who you choose your roommate to be. Also, I know some schools don't require freshmen to have a roommate. I also don't uh, recommend that because
Hmm.
you still want to start getting your support team together and your network and meeting people.
Yeah.
And so if you've had your own room and the idea of like having a roommate is crazy to you, I would just say go with it. Give it a try. You don't know. You could also meet your future best friend for the next 4 years.
Hmm.
So don't be afraid. I think in my experience, students who have their own room tend to struggle a little bit more because they're already a little bit isolated. And so you just want to be a little thoughtful about whether you want to have your own room or not.
Hmm.
While it is attractive, especially in college, for the first year, I would sort of stay away from that, if at all that you can. Um, and so then with that, if you have been accepted, one of the first things they're probably going to tell you to do is to set up your student email.
Hmm.
Um, the majority of colleges, I probably want to say about 98%, email is their main and primary
Hmm.
source of communication. And shortly after your acceptance letter, you will probably, and once you've accepted, you will probably then get an email, a letter saying this is how you set up your student email. All future contact will be conducted this way. You don't want to miss any of this information because you waited too long to set up your student
Hmm.
email. So as soon as you get that information, and they'll usually give you like a username and a standard password so that you can then set up a more permanent password. Go ahead and do that. Even if you don't check it, well, you should definitely get into the habit of checking it regularly, because again, they're going to start sending you a lot of information, and you don't want to miss anything because you still thought you were checking the email that you applied with. Once you become a
Hmm.
student, your student email is what is most likely going to be your primary form of contact with the school. So you want to
Hmm.
get into the habit of checking that, and you do that by setting that up. You can link it to your phone the
Yeah.
same way that you would with your personal email address. Or for many schools, you can forward it to your email
Yeah.
address, to your personal email, so that you don't feel like you're checking now like 8,000 different email accounts.
Hmm.
But you definitely want to get that started as soon as you can so that you don't miss any of the important information and deadlines. For example, that's probably how they'll let you know about like the new student orientation dates and when those are and how to
Hmm.
sign up and which ones to go to. Um, yes. And then I would say the other thing is a number of schools do it. If they have any sort of like what class would this be? 2023?
Hmm.
Okay. Jesus.
Yep.
Okay. I'm getting old. um, so a lot of institutions or like the student activities department will set up like a university all day class of 2023 page, either on Facebook or social
Hmm.
or Instagram, maybe even a Twitter. You want to join that because that will be another way that you can definitely start connecting with people in your class and getting information. So in
Hmm.
addition to setting up your email, just look to see if they have a class page set up and then start following that so you can keep up with all the information that's going out there. Um, yeah, and then my last piece of advice is that if you are hoping to work on campus, either through work study or just through something else, and so just a quick explanation, work study is if you've gotten your financial aid package, it's money that they allot you to work on campus, and this is meant so that you're not
Hmm.
going crazy trying to work off campus to meet your bills and things like that. So specific money that they put aside for you so that you can work on campus.